I remember the exact smell of the old oak pews in my father's church. It was a smell of polish, old paper, and expectation, heavy expectation. You see, I wasn't just anyone in our community. I was the daughter. My father wasn't just a pastor. He was a pillar. He was the man everyone came to when their marriages were failing, when they lost their jobs, when they needed hope. And I was his greatest project. From the time I was 5 years old, I could recite verses faster than the boys. By 12, I was leading the youth choir. By 20, I was preparing for seminary school. My destiny was written before I was even born. I was going to be a missionary. I was going to save souls. But there is a funny thing about trying to save others. Sometimes you realize you are the one drowning. It didn't start with a Muslim friend. I didn't have any. It didn't start with a video on the internet. It started in the one place I thought was safest, my father's library. I was preparing for a debate. We were going to have a series of seminars on apologetics, how to defend our faith against others. My specific assignment was to dismantle the arguments of Islam. I took this seriously. I wanted to make my father proud. I wanted to show him that his investment in me was worth it. So, I did what any good student does. I bought a translation of the Quran, not to learn from it, but to break it apart. I bought it with a red pen in my hand. I remember sitting at my desk, opening the first page, my pen hovering, ready to circle the contradictions, the violence, the errors. I started reading Al-Fatiha. In the name of God, the entirely merciful, the especially merciful. I paused. Merciful! In the news, on the television, all I heard was anger. But the book started with mercy. I thought, okay, that's just the opening. The rest will be different. I kept reading and reading. Hours turned into days. My red pen, it never touched the paper. Not once. I was looking for a war manual, but I found a conversation. It felt like the book was talking to me. It was asking me questions. Do you not think? Do you not see? There was this one night. It must have been 3 a.m. The house was silent. I was reading the chapter about Mary, Surah Maryam. In my church, Mary was important, of course, but here, in this enemy book, she was honored in a way that made my chest tighten. The description of her childbirth, her pain, her solitude, it was so raw, so human, yet so divine. And when the baby Jesus spoke in the cradle to defend his mother's honor, I started to cry. I wasn't crying because I was sad. I was crying because I was confused. This was Jesus, my Jesus. But he wasn't God here. He was a messenger, a mighty, beloved messenger. And for the first time in my life, that actually made sense. Magt, you have to understand, I struggled with the Trinity for years. I asked my father about it 1,000 times. Dad, how can God be three in one? How can God die? And he would always give me the same answer. It's a mystery, sweetheart. You just have to have faith. But reading the Quran, the mystery evaporated. God is one. He does not beget, nor is he begotten. It was like a key turning in a lock that had been rusted shut for 20 years. Click. But then came the fear, the terror. I closed the book and shoved it under my mattress. I felt like a traitor. How could I look at my father at the breakfast table? He was planning my mission trip to Brazil. He was bragging about me to the congregation. My daughter, the warrior for Christ. Hey, if he knew that his warrior was falling in love with the enemy's book, it would kill him. So I fought it. I stopped reading. I threw myself into church work. I sang louder on Sundays. I prayed harder. God, take this away. Take this confusion away. Make me hate it. But God, Allah, he had other plans. One Sunday, my father was preaching about salvation. He said, without the blood of the Lamb, there is no forgiveness. You cannot earn it. You are born broken. I sat there in the front row wearing my Sunday best, and my heart was screaming. Why? Why am I born broken? Why would a merciful creator make me flawed and then punish me for it unless I believe in a sacrifice I didn't witness? The Quran had said something different. It said that no soul bears the burden of another, that I am responsible for me, that if I walk to God, he runs to me, that forgiveness is just a sincere plea away. I couldn't take it anymore. I left the service in the middle of the sermon. I told my mom I felt sick. I ran to my room, locked the door, and pulled the Quran out from under the mattress. I opened it randomly. My eyes fell on a verse. And he is with you wherever you are. I fell to my knees, not the way we did in church, sitting on the pew. I put my forehead on the floor, my nose touching the carpet. I didn't know how to pray as a Muslim. I just knew that this position, head lower than my heart, was the only place I belonged. I whispered, "If you are there, if you are the one I think you are, help me, because I am about to lose everything." And I did lose everything. The day I told my father was the hardest day of my life. I didn't just say, "I'm Muslim." I tried to explain. I tried to show him the beauty I had found. I told him, "Dad, I still love Jesus. I love him more now because I understand him." He didn't hear me. He couldn't. All he saw was betrayal. He looked at me with eyes I didn't recognize. He said, "If you choose this, you are choosing against this family. You are choosing against your soul." He gave me an ultimatum: the church or the door. I looked round the house I grew up in, the pictures on the mantle, the piano I learned to play on, my safe, comfortable life. And then I looked at the peace I felt in my heart, the peace that 20 years of church never gave me. I packed a bag. Walking out of that door was like walking off a cliff. I had no money. I had nowhere to go. I slept in a cheap motel for the first week. I remember sitting on the edge of that stained bed, wearing a scarf I had bought at a thrift store, trying to figure out how to tie it. I looked in the mirror. I didn't see the pastor's daughter anymore. I didn't see the missionary in training. I saw a stranger, but for the first time that stranger had light in her eyes. People asked me if I regret it. They asked me if I miss the community, the status, the comfort. Sometimes I miss my dad. I miss my mom's cooking. I miss the certainty of knowing exactly what my future looked like. But then I wake up for Fajr. I wash my face. I stand on my prayer mat in the quiet of the morning before the world wakes up. And I say, "Allahu Akbar." God is greater, greater than my fear, greater than my loss, greater than the approval of my father or my community. I realized that I was studying to be a missionary, to save others, but God wanted to save me first. I found him not in the loud songs or the emotional sermons, but in the silence of a book I was supposed to hate. My name is Sarah. I was a pastor's daughter. Now I am just a servant of the one true God, and for the first time in my life, I am free.